Hi, it's Mike DelSignore. In today's video, I want to talk about what happens if you're charged with OUI and your case is going to be heard in the Leominster District Court. This is a court I've appeared at frequently. It's in Worcester County, and I'll be able to tell you in today's video the ins and outs of that court. I handle OUI cases all over Massachusetts. It's what I'm known for. I specialize in it. I've written books on OUI defense, and I'm here today to give you some advice. So if you're charged with OUI, you know what the best decision is for your case, because that's ultimately what you want to do, is make the best decision for you and for your situation. Now, I'll tell you what I look for in an OUI case is basically three things. I look at first the driving. I want to minimize any unsafe, erratic driving. I want to basically be able to show that you committed maybe some minor traffic infractions and the driving's not consistent with you being impaired. Next thing I look for, the field sobriety test. Can I argue, knowing all the officers' training, that you did well on these tests? That's my number one argument. Is you're probably going to look at the report and say you did terrible. When I look at the report, I'm going to show you everything you did right, and I'm basically going to try to argue in most cases that you passed these tests, that what they saw is not consistent with impairment. When you consider the fact that you were on the side of the road, you were nervous, it wasn't the best condition, maybe you have some medical issues that explain your performance, that overall you did well and you substantially performed these exercises. So when you look at your police report, don't assume that. Most people make the mistake of assuming that things are worse than they appear in the police report. Having read many of these reports, I can tell you, number one, they don't put the good things that you did in the police report. Officers don't put all their training, they don't put everything they're taught to look for in the report. So you really need an attorney who's handled a lot of OUI cases to sort of weed these things out for you, to explain what you did well. And that's what I'll do when we speak about your case. I'll go over the good and the bad of the case. I'll tell you exactly how it is, and I'll try to help you make the best decision for you. Next thing I look for is, how's your demeanor, your appearance? How do you do on the little things? There's a lot of little things officers are taught to look for. They're taught to look for how you pull over. Do you respond promptly to the lights? How do you provide the license and registration? Did you fumble for it? Have any issues with dexterity? And how do you get out of the car? Did you lean on the car? Use it for balance? So I look at all these things and I try to see, is there a mention in the report about it? If there's not, that means you did these things well, and we'll be able to argue that there's normal activities the officer's taught to look for that don't show any signs of impairment. So what do you need to know to make the best decision about your case and how to decide whether to take a plea or take it to trial? Well, first thing you need to understand is the license consequences. If you're from out of state, keep in mind that penalties in Massachusetts will carry over and could affect you in your home state. If there's an accident, for example, keep in mind that these cases, accident cases, also can be very winnable. Sometimes there's very little evidence, and you might have been brought to the hospital where you think there's a blood test. That blood test may not come into evidence. So don't rush to the conclusion that you can't win a case based on your sort of reading of the report or view of things, or even feelings of that you might have made a mistake. People make mistakes all the time. It doesn't mean you have to be guilty of a criminal charge, and that's where I'll try to help you decide whether it's worth you fighting the case. In terms of how you get your license back, if you took a breath test and you were over 0.08, it's a 30-day suspension. If you refused, it's 6 months. Leominster cases tend to move fast, so there's a good chance you could get a trial prior to the 6 months and get your license reinstated if there's a not guilty verdict. I've done that for clients in the past. I've gotten trials as quick as 90 days in Leominster Court. A lot of courts that would be unheard of. You can't, but that court moves quickly, so it's one of the benefits of having your case heard there. And that would be a bench trial. If the case requires a jury trial, that will take much longer. The case would eventually go to Fitchburg. But I've done a lot of cases with a judge in Leominster District Court. So keep these things in mind if you face an OUI charge. It's really about what is in your best interest. You need to understand the license consequence. You got to understand how it affects your job. For many people, continuance without a finding, isn't a huge benefit. Their employer would still find out about a continuance without a finding. So make sure you know the facts. You know what is likely to happen versus what you might assume is going to happen. So I've helped countless people win OUI cases. I have over 200 reviews on a lawyer review site called AVVO. And I've written books on this. I've taught other lawyers. It's my passion, helping people charged with OUI cases in Massachusetts. And if you're charged in Leominster District Court, feel free to contact me. You can call, text anytime. Never too early, too late to call. You can call me at 781-686-5924. It's my personal cell number. Answer that frequently. If you, for some reason I missed the call, leave a message. I answer most calls probably within 5 to 10 minutes of a message. But I'm happy to help you make the best decision for your case, because I'm in court sometimes and I hate to see people plea out to winnable cases or cases that weren't really fully investigated, admitting to cases where they didn't know the ins and outs. And that happens all the time. I get calls after the fact and sometimes there's nothing I can do about it. I don't want you to be in that situation. So contact me. I'll gladly walk you through the case, the strengths, the weaknesses of it, and try to help you make the best decision for yourself and your family. If you have any questions, you can always contact me by phone or text at 781-686-5924. I'm here to help you and be happy to answer your questions. Today, nights, weekends, anytime you have an issue, feel free to reach out.